Good morning.
Good morning.
So, folks are coming on. TJ, just for the only way to track attendance is when people sign in.
Yeah, but what if they don't have a Zoom account?
They need to. We're in the world of Zoom. It's their fault. They're getting on a Zoom meeting. This isn't their first one.
Just a FYI, I can't screen share.
Oh, we just got on. So, co-host. Oh snap! Hold on. I don't have co-host. For whatever reason.
Aw.
All right, go ahead and check now and see.
Yep. I'm good.
Good morning, guys.
You fixed your name.
Good morning. Folks are coming on in. Yay. For everybody who has already joined us, thank you. I always give I call it a 3-minute grace. So I'm always late. And so I understand sometimes my friends are late too. So I try and give a 3-minute grace so that we can all be here together. I got some announcements, I have some announcements that I will be providing in just a few minutes before we get started. But good morning, everybody. I'm so glad you are here. As we move on, I'm sure that more people will be joining us. But for right now, all right, it's 9:31. We're going to start in about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. So if you need to go grab you another cup of coffee, please do so. You have about a minute and a half to make magic happen, and we will start at 9:03. All right, we are at 9:32 and a half. So I will start the announcements. Good morning. I am Felicia Williams-Young from Metro United Way. Thank you for joining us for BLOCS 101, orientation for new staff, as well as a review for those who've been around for a while. I'm so glad you're here. We have a couple, 9:33. All right, we have a couple of announcements that I want to make sure that I say before we get started. There was going to be a training immediately after this training called What is Quality in a Nutshell? That training has been, so that everybody's not on here for 3 hours today, we decided to move it to November 19th. So please put it on your calendar for November 19th. It's What is Quality in a Nutshell? Invitations will be sent out to everybody the first week or so of November. So you should get something in your inbox, but put the little tickler on your phone so that you remember that it's happening. The next thing is we had our first communities of practice earlier this month. We're having our second one on November the 12th at 10 o'clock a.m. The topic is, what is mandatory reporting? All right. And the full title is, what is mandatory reporting and what it is not? We understand that Kentucky is a mandatory reporting state. And sometimes we want to make the call because we don't want to do it wrong. But we have some folks, our friends at CPS, are actually going to be on board to tell us what mandatory reporting actually is, what it's not, what they see, and how implicit bias actually works in those calls that they get. All right, that is November the 12th at 10 a.m. The next one, all of us care about youth, and all of us work with youth, and a lot of our youth have trauma. And I don't want to say a lot, most, if not all, have experienced some sort of trauma in their life. And because of that, on November the 17th, we are having a training, Caring for Youth with Trauma. So if you feel that any of the youth in your program, past, present, or future, has experienced some sort of trauma, or if you're not even sure, I ask that you join us on November 17th. Invitations will be coming out for all of these. I know it seems like sometimes that you get bombarded with emails from us, but it's always good stuff. So please, please, please open the emails, see what we have to say, what we have to offer. We are doing the very best we can for you. My last announcement for today. We had sent out a survey monkey to see who was interested in mask, and for PPE purposes, reusable mask. Many of you responded and said yes. And so the original pickup date was going to be tomorrow, but due to overwhelming response, it is going to take a lot longer for us to get it together. And so we are asking that that be moved to next Wednesday, November the 4th. The window is 10 a.m. to noon. Everyone who has responded to me should have received an email late last night from me or first thing this morning when you open up your email to give you the pickup instructions. So if you have any questions about any of that, put it in the chat. If you need those dates, I will put them in the chat. We are going to have a great day. Again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited that you're here. You're going to have a chance to meet all of the BLOCS staff, but for right now, I am going to hand it over to TJ Delahanty, who is going to provide us with BLOCS 101. Take it away, TJ.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to BLOCS 101, which is the new staff orientation for the BLOCS partnership and participation. For our icebreaker today, we're all going to practice using the chat box. And what I would like you to do is to type your name and the organization and site that you are representing today. And as I say that, I'm trying to chew gum and walk at the same time and do that myself. So TJ Delahanty, Metro United Way. So if everybody could do that for us, now we can all see the chat so we get a better idea of who we're on the call with. And look at everybody doing that. That's so awesome. As you're doing that, I am going to screen share because I'm going to use a slideshow. Good morning. BLOCS new staff orientation is today, October 29th, 2020. I want to share our learning goal today. Our learning goal is to get an introduction to what BLOCS is and what it entails to participate in BLOCS. My goal is to get through the informational part of the presentation in 30 minutes or less, and then we will open it up to um, a version of a AMA. I hope you guys know what an AMA is, which is Ask Me Anything, but instead of just me, we will have our whole block staff here for you to ask questions. Just as a real deep dive into the background, BLOCS is a partnership of Jefferson County Public Schools, Louisville Metro Government, and Metro United Way. It really kind of started, its genesis happened from a dropout summit that happened in Louisville, Kentucky in 2008. And the really cool thing about that dropout summit was that the folks that participated, there was 450 participants, and many of those folks that participated stuck together for 2 years, and in 2010 issued a report called the Youth Print. And the Youth Print basically set up the groundwork, laid the foundation for BLOCS. That Youth Print, basically those folks decided that there are lots of passionate and committed adults in our community that want to help young people. There are lots of great programs, but the main issue was that those programs weren't in the same boat, rowing in the same direction, and weren't didn't have the supports and coordination that allowed them to do that. So BLOCS was officially kicked off in 2012. It stands for, of course, if you've got bureaucrats involved, they're going to create an acronym. BLOCS is building Louisville's out-of-school time coordinated system with a goal to ensure that all young people in Louisville have access to high quality after school and OST programs that improve their skills and abilities and support them in graduating high school prepared for success in college and life. How we do that is creating awareness of the important role of out-of-school time, setting standards for program quality, and inciting, I love that word, inciting provider participation and motivate provider excellence in program performance. Our focus areas are program quality, and that's helping the adults who work with youth programs to build their knowledge and skills in implementing activities that promote learning, data collection and analysis. A lot of the things that Block does for our network of 56 organizations is provide you all with tools that really are data collection tools that, with that ultimate goal of being able to demonstrate to the community that you're making a difference in the lives of young people that walk through your doors. Access and participation, really creating and trying to increase young people's access and participation in youth programs, and then outreach and advocacy. We do have a logic model that connects those data pieces, and really it's all about program quality plus youth participation equals impact. And those impact measures are academic performance, social emotional learning, with ultimately, that preparation for young people to be, to have the skills they need to be successful in school, at home, in the neighborhood, and in life, right? Here's I'm sure I can't see Felicia, but I'm sure she's smiling because I managed to find a picture of a three-legged stool, which is how, when I typically onboard people, and some of you all who have been to a TJ onboard may have heard this analogy. Blocks is a three-legged stool. The participation program requirements are a three-legged stool, and that is using Cascade. All Blocks sites and organizations are required to have Cascade accounts, um, participation in the YPQI process, and using that framework, and measuring social emotional learning, which is the tool we use is the SRYB for the acronym police, or the abbreviation police. That is means staff rating of youth behavior. And the one piece I forgot to add, for the really 8 years of history of blocks in this three-legged stool, right? We've tried to be as inclusive as possible. We've every year, except for this year, added new programs. We've knocked on doors. We've asked who else needs to be on. Lately, Block's network is so well known in the community. We have people that are knocking on our door saying we want to be a part, right? And there are only two requirements to be a part of Blocks. And those requirements are that you work with young people in groups, facilitated by an adult, and you're trying to teach them something, right? You want those young people to learn as a part of your program, to learn something. That's requirement number one. And requirement number two is that for every cohort of young people, for every group of young people that you work with, that you spend at least 30 hours, those young people spend at least 30 hours in your program, and they have during a school year, right? So they have from August to June for you to get in 30 hours. It's not 30 hours a day, it's not 30 hours a week or a month or a semester. It's 30 hours within a school year. Um, and the reasons for those two requirements is that, Blocks is a youth development skill building focus, and, the research and the youth development approach um, requires young people in groups learning together, facilitated by an adult. And that 30-hour minimum is, based on the best research that we've been able to find, that says that when a young person spends 30 hours in a youth program within a school year, that's the tipping point when that participation in a quality youth development program starts to make a difference in their academic um, performance. So those are the only two requirements that a youth agency, organization, program needs to be a part of Blocks. Those two requirements. Um, those are the only things that folks have to commit to join Blocks. But once you join Blocks, we ask folks to use these three tools, and we provide the supports and the tools to be able to use those tools successfully. I'm going to go through in depth with each one of these legs of the stool next. And the first is Cascade. And what I'm going to try to do is do the what and the why and the how for each one of these tools. Um, the what for Cascade it is a JCPS web database that allows community-based organizations to build rosters of young people that participate in their program, that allows that community-based organization access to students' academic data. And examples of that data are K-Prep scores, MAP assessment scores, ATC scores, plus attendance and suspensions, and probably a few other things. Blocks requires Block sites are required to have a Cascade account with updated rosters every year and to keep regular attendance. Um, Starting in JCPS is gone back and forth with this over the history of Blocks. At one point in time, block sites were required to get parent releases every year. And then JCPS flexed on that and said, once you get a parent release on a young person in your program, that young person stays in your Cascade account until they age out of school. Last year, they have gone back to getting new parent releases signed every year. They are supposedly clearing everybody's Cascade rosters typically in August of every year, and then you have to get parent signatures again. That's an active signature, active consent for parents to sign to allow you all to have access to their academic data in Cascade, right? And once again, this year we have a brand new consent form, parent release form, and we are requiring folks to get parent releases signed and build their rosters. We are actually, JCPS had shut down or closed kind of Cascade um, at the beginning of this year because they said grades were not in Cascade, so they didn't um, see the need for our folks to use Cascade. They have recently started putting grades back in Cascade, and we will be sending an email out next week asking everybody to build their rosters in Cascade. The why of Cascade. Cascade allows each block site to build rosters and track program attendance. JCPS's intent is for our community-based partners to have individual academic data for their program participants to tailor academic intervention to that individual student's need. So if you ask JCPS, why do they allow our youth service providers access to individual academic? Because they want you all to tailor academic remediation to that student's need based on their grades, right? Our intent is a little bit different, and our intent is basically Cascade allows us to connect students with youth services to impacts in context with student demographics, student participation in blocks programs, and to sell an academic outcome. So for us, you know, Cascade is one of the three legs of the tools that provide us data that we can use to demonstrate that you guys are having an impact on those kids, both academic for Cascade academically, right? And it also allows us to connect the kids in blocks programs academic performance to social emotional learning and to the quality of those programs. That's going to be a recurring theme. So all of our sites now have accounts. Each year, JCPS clears those site rosters. Every year, sites are asked to rebuild those rosters by getting parents to sign the JCPS parent release. This year, there's a new release, so we will make sure you all have access to that. And if you're a Cascade user, that release is on the Cascade login page. The other new thing this year is there is a Google Doc, an online form that you can send to parents for them to fill out that goes straight to JCPS. When you're using paper parent releases, you get the parents to sign them, and then you scan them and email them to Catherine Colasano and Krista Drescher-Burke at JCPS. Once JCPS receives your parent releases, they start building your rosters in Cascade. I'm going to try to plow through this as quickly as possible. And then we're going to have hopefully a good 20, 25 minutes for questions. I'm going to move on to the second leg in the BLOCS three-legged stool, and that is the youth program quality intervention. You can tell we use research-based tools because they have horrible names. I don't know what is up with academics, but they cannot make user-friendly or even nice-sounding names. So you'll rarely see, some of y'all, uh, this might be the first time that you've heard me actually say use program quality intervention. It's just, it is a framework, right? It is a framework that builds staff knowledge and capacity to create and design activities that promote learning. It was developed by the Weichert Center for Youth Program Quality. The Weichert Center is a spinoff of the High Scope Educational Research Foundation. There's 40 years of practice and um, research that went into this framework, and it works if you are working with young people. It is applicable to you if you work with young people in groups facilitated by an adult in activities that have a learning goal, right? And it's an assess, plan, improve framework. Um, it's we ask folks to use this tool, which I'll show you in a second, to assess your program quality, which it means observing activities and using the framework to score those activities. Um, Typically, that happens in the fall of every year. We ask folks to do that self-assessment. We use the same tool um, to send in certified reliable external assessors who use that same tool in the fall to go in and rate score activities. So this tool is one of the reasons we love it is because it's not about your organizational program, it's about your activities, and do those activities promote learning, right? And that tool scores activities, not staff, not kids, not programs, but activities, and lets you know that what is the probability that learning is happening in those activities. It's a database tool, right? So you enter your scores into a web-based database called Scores Reporter. We enter our scores in. The one thing that we really love about that is that data that goes in is immediately available to everybody. So everybody's got access to Scores Reporter, that web-based database. The scores go in. As soon as you hit submit on your scores, you can turn around and print out a report and have that data accessible to you. After we finish with the fall assessment period, though, we don't rely on you going into the web-based database to see that those scores. We bring you in together and we give you your scores, both your self-assessment and your external assessment. We go through and talk about how to interpret that data and what it means, and then we ask you all to create a program improvement plan, which is basically 3 goals based on the data in your assessments, right? We want you to look at strengths and weaknesses and then create goals around the data in those assessment reports that strengthen the weaknesses that were identified in the report. So uh, so that program improvement plan actually goes into Scores Reporter. We review all your goals and give you feedback. And then it's, in this scenario, it's assess, plan, improve, but really the improvement process starts from day one. The actual one of the reasons, and I'm going to say this a lot, we love this tool is just in the process of using the tool to assess your programs, you're starting that improvement process, because that tool is really, and I'll say this again in a couple of minutes, is a recipe for creating activities that promote learning, right? The tool has the scores that we pay most attention to that come out of that tool is something called ITS, Instructional Total Scores. In the ITS is literally the probability that learning is happening within the activities in your program, right? So by using that tool, you're becoming aware of what are the ingredients in an activity. What do I need to do when I'm planning my activities with the young people to promote learning, right? So And that improvement process, you know, is continuous through that assessment phase to the planning phase, using the data to see where your program activities are strong and where you can improve them. And then also is related to all the trainings that we do that are part of that program improvement process. The why. Number one, why we use the YPQI is it works. It is a framework that builds staff knowledge and skills to provide quality activities to promote learning. It works for any program activity. As you know, and as you look at the folks on the screen, we have such a huge, diverse array of youth services in our community. And you know, when you look at our list of program providers, there's the big name brand folks, the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club, but there's also the little folks too, the Highland Parks, the Tiger Strike, and then there's the medium size, which like Americana and Neighborhood House, and then there's the folks that are kind of focused, like, you know, martial arts is a very focused activity. Young Authors Greenhouse is about writing. That's a very focused activity. River City Drum Corps is about drums. The reason we love this framework is no matter what you're doing with kids, as long as you're working with them in groups facilitated by an adult, this tool applies, and it will help you to create programs that promote learning. The other reasons why we use YPQI, it's trauma informed. YPQI is about safe environment, and that safe environment is both physical and emotional safety. It's about supportive environments. Supportive environments are that staff relationship and how we interact with young people and the expectations we have for them to interact with each other. It's about promoting interaction and engagement. All that is trauma informed, right? The other thing is that, and I said this earlier, the PQA, the tool that we use, is a recipe to build activities that promote learning. The YPQI and the PQA tool we use are self-focused. And the bottom line, last on that PowerPoint slide, is that it works, and we know it works. All right, this is the tool we use. It is the Youth PQA, the Youth Program Quality Assessment. This is our recipe book. I tend to freak people out here because I say we actually use two tools. One is the Youth PQA and the other is the School Age PQA. And I tell them these tools are the same thing, only different. The Youth PQA, as you see, is for grades 4 to 12. The School Age PQA is for programs who work with children with grades K through 6. This is when I talk about it's a recipe. Here's an example of what it looks like. One, it's based on 4 domains, and it has scales in each domain that add up to how you get there. And then each scale has a list of items that are the ingredients to get to that scale. So skill building is a scale within the supportive environment domain. If you look at these items, and you probably can't read them because they're too small, but it says things like staff tells youth a specific skill building focus for the session. So instead of creating an activity, having an activity that's about building keychains out of beads that look like lizards, today you say, well, we're going to learn about lizards today. And one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to build keychains out of beads that look like lizards. And you then talk a little bit about lizards. And you ask young people, have you ever seen a lizard? What do they look like? You know, so instead of just having activities that keep busy, you have every busy activity has a learning goal, and you trust the young people and you tell them what that learning goal is from the beginning. Other examples from this is staff encourages all youth to try out skills or attempt higher levels of performance. Staff models skills for youth. Staff breaks difficult tasks into smaller, simpler, manageable steps. Those are some of the ingredients that are spelled out within this PQA tool to create activities that promote learning. And I said it worked. And you know, this is a data collection model, and we've been using it now for this is our 7th year, and it does work. We have steadily, the programs that are part of BLOCS that have been using this tool have increased the quality of their programs every year. And if you look, you really, sorry, the slide's a little fuzzy, but you can obviously see the increase in quality for all of our folks. The cool thing is that, you know, when we first started using this in 2014, the average for all our programs was well below the national average. And if you look now, you know, starting in 2017, we hit the national average, and we are now moving above and beyond. So the data supports that. The third leg of the stool is social emotional learning. And these are the skill sets and the mindsets that young people learn to get along and succeed in the different environments that they interact with, right? Social emotional learning is often described in terms of soft skills or life skills or grit. But the reality is that, you know, if you were in a group of any adults and you ask them, what are the skills, what are the things that have helped make you to be a successful adult? Nobody's going to talk about, oh, I graduated reading at my grade level, or I got A's in algebra and trigonometry. People are going to say, well, you know, I can listen well. I can communicate to other people in a way that they understand me. I can set goals and make a plan to get there. You know, one of the things I used to say all the time, I guess I'll repeat it now, is that, you know, vocational schools learned a long time ago that they can teach people to be the best mechanics and electricians and carpenters in the world. But if those people can't follow direction, they can't communicate, you know, what went wrong with the car and justify why it costs that much for you to get it repaired by them, then they won't be successful mechanics and electricians and carpenters, right? So vocational schools are way ahead of the game in focusing on those life skills that people need to be successful. And you know, we didn't come from on high. Metro United Way or JCPS didn't say we need to focus on these skills. You know, in the process, what I didn't talk about in the process of the planning and development of blocks, we brought in groups of people, leaders and organizations to talk about what are the things we need to focus on, right? And that's where we finally landed on social emotional learning. How do we do this? I wanna, all right. In one of the things I often say is that one, that there's a significant population of young people in our community that don't go to school with the skills they need to be able to be ready to learn, right? And the reason that, one of the reasons that those young people don't go to school with the skills they need to be ready to learn is because they don't have the same access to resources, supports, and opportunities to practice and develop those skills, right? When you think about the young people that don't succeed in school, they often come from families living in poverty, from minority communities. In a lot of that, especially, a lot of great research has come out lately is that you know struggling to survive, living in poverty and in living in oppression creates trauma, and that trauma literally has internal effects. It has physical effects on people's ability to learn. That trauma literally blocks a little piece of your brain back here that allows access for learning. One of the great examples I heard recently was um, when a young person goes through, if you ever have a very um, an event, a traumatic event where you're there with young people and you spend time debriefing that event, asking young people to reflect, and you ask them, what happened? Why did you do that? A lot of times you'll hear a young person say, well, I didn't do that. And the reality is that stress and that trauma of the event literally blocks their ability to integrate short-term memories. So if they said, I didn't do that, or I didn't know I did that, it's literally they're telling you the truth because that trauma, that stress blocked their ability for that memory of that event to integrate into a memory in their brain, right? Um, and we feel that our programs, our niche for after school is to help the young people that we work with to build those skills that they need to be successful to and ready to learn, to be successful at in school, at home, in the neighborhood, in life, right? That is the why. Um, you know, 90% of our OST program staff are not teach certified teachers. They are not even, uh, and at that, they're not remedial teachers, right? So the idea to ask, untrained, certified professionals to be responsible for academic remediation does not make a lot of sense. But we can help you all build the knowledge and skills to teach young people how to learn these social emotional learning skills. And how do we measure social emotional learning? We use a tool called the staff rating of youth behavior. This is an example of that. We ask folks, this is an observation tool. So the adults who know the young people fill out this 14 item survey, observation tool with young people at the beginning of the year in the fall, and then once again in the spring. That allows us 2 points in time of young person's social emotional development and to measure improvement. It's a 14-point item that staff fill out. We have an Excel spreadsheet to enter those scores into. What we have found that it takes each staff person about 3 to 4 minutes to fill out this tool on the young people that they know and then enter those scores into Excel. So we like it because it's research based, it is valid tool, and it's not, you know, 50 items. It's 14 items, takes 3 to 4 minutes to fill it out. It asks questions like, does the young person identify and name emotions? Not at all, a little bit, somewhat, a lot, or exactly, right? So that is the SRYB tool. We ask folks to do that with their young people in the fall, in the spring. Um, and this is the impact measure is social emotional learning. The tool we use is SRYB, staff rating youth behavior. And we typically ask folks to do it in the fall, in the spring. And, and this is what it looks like when we run, our logic model, right? We can now tell JCPS and the mayor and the community and parents that quality matters in social emotional development. Our high quality programs have seen 57% of youth improve their social emotional development from time 1 to time 2. Our lower quality programs only see a 41% improvement. Here's the other thing that we see with this data that relates these 3 legs of the stool back to our logic model. The other thing, so that is actual, you know, now I'm showing you why we use Cascade, right? Young people who attend our high quality programs are suspended in 2017 and 2018 at 1/3 the rate as the average JCPS student, right? Our young people who attend our high quality programs attend 4 percentage points better in school than the JCPS average. So, you know, here's the bottom line. We are really trying to support all the diverse array of community-based organizations in our community that serve young people with tools that allow them to demonstrate to the community, to the school district, to their funders, that they are making a difference in the lives of young people who walk through their doors every day. We have been steadily expanding the number of agencies and programs that participate in BLOCS. We started off in 2014 with 38. In 2019, we had 103. Last year, we had 109. And all right, y'all, I did it. I have run through it. It is 10:14. We have 15 whole minutes for questions and answers. I'm out of breath. I tried to run through it quickly. I hope that helped. All the questions you're dying to ask.
Okay, so I have a question just about what we're doing with this school year, because the school year obviously is very different than anything we've ever done before. And so my site is Bates and it's currently not open. I'm located at Farmer. So how am I going to rate my kids?
Well, that's a good question. And the one thing that I didn't say that I should have, to not scare anybody, is that for this year during the pandemic, our theme is compassion over compliance. And a lot of these tools, you know, you successfully participate in BLOCS by using these tools, right? And a lot of our job is helping you do it and making sure you do it, right? Well, this year we have basically kind of suspended a lot of the requirements. We're not doing self-assessments. We're not doing external assessments this fall. We're not asking folks to do SRYB this fall, right? And that is, a lot of that is the realization that there's, you know, when we have talked to our folks, we figured out that at least 25% of our programs are not doing in person. Another 30% are doing a combination of in person and virtual, and then, you know, another 35% are doing in person. And it wasn't fair to require everybody to do something when there's really no mechanism to do that. Now in December we will reevaluate. Our goal is to try to get 2 sets of scores for SROYB in January and February, and then in March and April and May. But that's, to me, if and only if people have programs in person. We can't do SRYB virtually. It's just, it's not a valid tool for that. And it's the same for the PQA. So if and when we do, at the bottom line, you know, hopefully this pandemic thing will have a handle on it, and we can get together in person and shake hands and hug and have our young people together without mask on before this year ends. but our tools aren't adapted for online or virtual. So if that continues, we will not, it'll be another asterisk year. We will not be able to use any of these tools. So that's the first part of the answer. The second part is if and when we do, you've got 4 people at least at the on your screen that will help you individually, work through it, right? Mike, Felicia, Antonio.
Hey, everybody. It's probably a good time to introduce to you all the team. Um, I'd like to introduce Mike Deegan. Mike is, if you don't mind, give us about a 30-second to a minute snapshot of what you do and what you plan to provide, or how they can, what they would need to reach out to you for.
Sure. Thanks, Felicia. Thanks, TJ. Good morning, everybody. My name's Mike Deegan, and I'm the manager of policy and research for the Impact team here. I was previously the data and integration manager for what used to be called the Youth Success team. And my primary role was providing coordination and organization for the SRYB data collection. I'm going to be helping out Antonio with that for this spring, hopefully, as TJ mentioned. But I have a lot of knowledge about that, the SEL measurement tool, and also have been played a big role in integrating all of that data, the PQA data, the Cascade data, and the SRYB data. So I'll still remain in that role for the time being, but anytime you have a question about any of these measurements, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Antonio, same thing. This is Antonio Ritas. He is the newest person on our education team. He has reached out to many of the sites, so you may recognize his voice from the phone calls. So Antonio, if you could do the same thing.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Antonio Reedus, the Manager of Educational Supports with Metro United Way and BLOCS. So I will be the one who will be the most hands-on with these processes. So any assistance that you need, or any help that you need with this process, I will be the one to give you that helping hand and kind of guide you and direct you through this process. As Felicia said, I'm going around, I'm calling the sites first just to introduce myself, and also to just get an update, see how things are going with the sites, and just seeing what ways that we can be supporting you all right now. So yep, whenever the time comes around, you will be hearing from me, and you will probably be seeing me. We'll probably be having some Zoom calls or whatnot. So you'll be seeing more of me, and I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you, Antonio. I appreciate that. TJ had an opportunity to talk to you, but he also, TJ, did you tell everybody what you do and how you can assist them in this process?
My name's TJ Delahanty. I am Senior Manager for Educational Success at United Way. In one of the questions that somebody could ask is, oh, gee, you guys are all United Way. What's up with that? I thought this was a BLOCS thing. Well, Gabrielle is actually, Benfield is actually on the call too. We may work for United Way, but our primary role is in support of the BLOCS programs, right? And I am your generalist, and we are a team. So anytime you reach out to one of us, you've reached out to all of us, because if we don't know the answer, we're going to go to the person who actually does, and typically not just say, oh no, you need to talk to Mike. We will talk to Mike, and then let either, if it's a brief answer, let you know, or then say, well, I just talked to Mike. he would love to talk to you to help you out with your question, right? Um, so there's sometimes a lot of people get confused, about who Gabrielle or TJ or Mike or Felicia or Antonio work for. We work for our organizations, but we all support this block works. There you go, Gabrielle. Nice.
All right. Thank you, TJ. Gabrielle Benfield from Louisville Metro Government. Can you introduce yourself and tell a little bit about, I know your role has changed a smidge, but what have you traditionally done for BLOCS?
My name is Gabrielle Benfield. I work for the Office of Youth Development. Traditionally, for the last probably 2 years, minus the 6 months of the pandemic, I was in charge of making sure that the methods trainings were scheduled, and we had trainers for that. Office of Youth Development always had another youth worker training that actually was once a month that I was in charge of, and also the Youth Development Certificate, which is kind of in a holding pattern. So hopefully we'll have some news about that soon. Just tracking that, making sure people were getting what they needed. And also I did external assessments and whatever they asked me to do. Lots of meetings, lots of different things. So hi, everybody.
Thank you so very much. None of the JCPS folks were able to join with us this morning because, we're in the midst of a pandemic, and they are working fast and furious to make sure that NTI and Cascade is getting up and running. But nonetheless, we are here for you. We're willing to answer any and every question. Right now, you may think, oh, wow, I don't have anything to ask. If you decide that you have something to ask later on, the 5 of us are going to put our contact information into the chat. Please save the chat, save our information. Feel free to call or email us at any time. We will help out in any way that we can. We know structures have changed a bit at some of our organizations, and therefore, it's always good to be able to have somebody to ask questions to make sure that it's happening correctly. If you feel like, you know what, I really need some in-depth support. I need something once in the spring, once we get back to rolling, if you need some help, well, even now, if you need some help with Cascade, getting your rosters up, reach out to us. We have folks who can help get those rosters. We can help explain it to you, help in any way that we can. In the spring, if everything is back up and running, Antonio will be able to answer a lot of those questions. Whatever you need to feel more comfortable with this process, to know if you're on the right track, to know if you're doing the right thing, where are we in this process, always know that you can call us or email us and we answer back very quickly. All right, our information is in the chat. Are there any more questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm with Robert Jameson Ministries, and we are in person. We do NTI, and so we're part of that percentage that is in person. So are we required, I know you mentioned not needing to do the PQA or the SRYB, being in person, do we need to be doing those for students that are starting up with us to do their NTI work, or is that not something we need to be doing right now?
At this point, from our kickoff was actually in August. From August to December 31st, you don't have to worry about absolutely anything except the Cascade roster that the information is going to be forthcoming in the next couple weeks. Your site, every organization is going to get some information about Cascade and building that Cascade roster for the folks at your site. Everything we mentioned about self-assessments, external assessments, program improvement plans, SRYB, let that go out your mind until December 31st. We will notify you in December what our plans are for the spring. Right now, it's a little bit too early to know how the spring will pan out because we are still in the red here in the state. And so I don't want to say we're going to be up and running back to normal yet because we don't know, but we will notify you. So if in the spring we get back to external assessments, we're going to reach out to you and you will absolutely know. We will make it clear and plain for you. We'll explain the process again if necessary. We'll have another Zoom if necessary for the new folks to walk you through the process. Whatever we need to do or whatever you feel like we need to do for you, we would be more than happy to discuss that.
Thank
But
you.
from now to December 31st, nothing but Cascade rosters.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? TJ, you must have did an excellent job. Thank you so much for for this. We appreciate you and your knowledge and explaining everything to us. Once again, please save your chat. Our information is there. If later on today you're like, I should have asked them, feel free to ask us at any point in time. If there are no other questions, if there's nothing else for the good of the cause, I will say thank you so much for joining. Thank you all, thank you all, thank you all. And we will reconvene up. Pay attention to the chat. I added the dates and times for the upcoming trainings as well as the communities of practice. We really want you to participate in those. Tell all your friends as well. So if there's nothing else, thank you, and I bid you adieu. Thanks, everybody.